Alright guys, welcome back. Today I have two games to go over. First game started off pretty good. I thought I had a pretty good opening, built a pretty solid base, and then the queen started moving around, and I think one mistake kind of set me back a little bit, and I think I probably should have done something a little bit different, but we'll get into it. And then the second game went pretty well. I think I had a good balance of offense and defense against my opponent. And while my opponent was threatening, I tried not to play too much defense and sacrifice the attack I had going. So overall, it turned out pretty good. I had a pretty good day today. Learned a lot. I'm going to try to take a lot of my learnings today, move them over into tomorrow. So thank you again for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe as we try to grow the channel. And with that, let's jump into it. Okay, let's jump into these two games and see how everything plays out. So I'm starting off as black here, facing someone who is 814 ELO, while I'm sitting at 791. So let's jump in. Start off with the king pawn. As I'm starting to play with black, I'd like to just mirror my opponent for the first couple moves. I know the Caro-Kann is a good, or the Sicilian is a good one, but I definitely need to practice some more openings as black. So I'll let this one play here a little bit. I'm starting to build my defenses, trying to get some pieces out into the center of the board. He brings his knight in, and I see this as an opportunity to put some pressure on his queen. His queen moves over, and I probably should have taken his knight right now. But I use this as an opportunity to try to get some more pieces into play. But what I'm noticing is the center of my defenses are pretty blocked up here at the moment. So he kicks my bishop out. I bring him back to try to put some pressure on that knight and that bishop. But I got four pieces right in the center there, all kind of clogging each other up. And he brought his queen out really early, and I haven't seen a lot of players bring their queen out so soon. So I didn't really know what to do with that queen out there too much. But I want to try to kick this bishop out to try to free myself up a little bit more. I think in hindsight, being 2020, maybe I should have brought my knight out to b4. Or maybe try to get some of these other pieces developed and kind of out of each other's way. Because right now they were just kind of sitting in each other's way. And I continue to block everything up by bringing out that pawn. He moves over to take my knight, and I move my bishop over to again try to free up some more space. We trade, and again, I got traffic jam in the middle there. So I tried to relieve some of that pressure by bringing up that pawn, and I left my knight hanging. And so I'll come back here, because this was one of the big moves which allowed the queen to stay in my zone for quite a while. But just an unprotected knight right there. Maybe I should have moved my queen up to defend that knight before moving up the pawn. I was so focused on trying to maintain central presence there and keep a hold of that middle that I just left my knight hanging there. And so I already start off and I'm down material. He puts me into check and he's got eyes on my rook, but I keep my queen on d1 there, or d8, just to try to de-incentivize him from taking that rook. But that queen stays there for a while. So I ended up with the pieces in the middle that I want. And I take this opportunity to try to develop a little bit more. And what I'm noticing here, and something that I'm doing a lot, is a lot of pawn work. You know, I'm not bringing my pieces out as much as I should be, and I'm focusing a lot on the pawns. So he brings up, I take, we trade. I still have my two pieces in the middle, and what I want to try to do here is get that queen out of my space. So I bring my rook up, threaten that queen. Good play by him. He brings over his bishop to threaten my queen. And I think this was one of the big turning points of the game. So it's black's move. It's my turn. I think what I should have done was use my h6 rook to take his queen, allow my queen to get taken, and then try to take his bishop back with my other rook. Instead, I play a little bit too defensively. I wasn't thinking clearly. I slide over to try to avoid the pressure. And then he is able to get out. I try to kick his queen out a little bit more. He dodges it. Then I end up taking the queen. And queen for a rook trade, in my mind, that's pretty good. I'm not too mad about that. And then I probably should have tried to kick that bishop out because that bishop has a clear line of sight into an undefended base there. And I'm already down material because I left that knight hanging. That kind of hurt everything. But what I didn't realize was that his bishop is also now staring at that forward pawn. And so his bishop just slides up and is still protected. And so I figured, okay, I better get this pawn out of here. But he slides over to protect as well. And he's got the whole D file there guarded by that pawn. And so his rooks end up being very powerful here in the center of the board. And so I kind of slide over to try to avoid this pressure. But two rooks staring down the center of the board. His bishop there is sitting in front, but he's still protected. It's looking pretty good for him. I don't like my position all that much. I'm really not sure what to do. I'd love to get that pawn out of my center, but it looks like that pawn is going to come down for promotion. And so I'm just trying to figure out somehow, maybe I can attack that f2. I can put him into check, and then I can figure out something to do later. But I'm staring at that f2 square right now. Unfortunately, he's also staring at the f2 square, and so after I see f3, I was thinking, all right, I got to come up with another plan here because I can't go anywhere near his king. Everything is pretty much all defended. Maybe I just start moving my pawns over on the right there. So he brings his rook down, pretty much guaranteeing that his D pawn is going to promote. So I kind of panicking, kind of seeing the writing on the wall, I said, all right, let me just get out of here. Maybe he'll take my rook, and I can take him with my queen, and then maybe I can somehow get his queen that gets promoted, and we'll go from there. But it's not looking good right now. So I said, all right, we'll just screw it. We'll just get out of here. I started running away, series of check, 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 and eventually it is mate. So I'll just back up here real quick. And, you know, when the queen and the bishop started threatening my area, I think I probably could have played a little bit more aggressively. I think I could have traded a little bit better, but those pawns I was moving versus my pieces kind of hindered me, I think, early on. And I need to be better at developing my pieces and not just spending 6, 7, 8 moves just focusing on my pawns. Okay, so that was game one. I've got another game lined up here that I played directly after. So I started there at 791 and I got brought down to 774. So this is a relatively faster game. Decided to go Caro-Kann, different than what I went before, to try to maintain a little bit more central pressure. So after a couple trades and a couple of threatening pressures there, I get my two pieces in the middle. And then again, this is something I don't see all that much, is the queen just running out here. It's unprotected. It's on my half of the board. I don't really see this all that much, and I don't really see what to do, but I'm looking at that e5 space right there if he was just to slide over and put me in check. So let's just defend that pawn right there, and then if I already have that defended, let's just continue to develop some pieces and get some stuff on the board. But now I'm seeing us start to amass some forces on the left side, so I said, okay, let's bring the big guns out. Let's defend this side a little bit. And I'm also keeping eyes on that f2 pawn as well. Okay, computer froze there. So we'll let this go a little bit. Let's kick that queen out of there. He brings the queen back by one space, so I take this opportunity to try to develop a little bit more. Now I'm really eyeing up on that f2 space. I see he is still defended by that queen, but now he's also seeing that f2 pawn right there. So we'll castle. Interesting move to move his knight back. Not sure what the strategy was there, but I'm offering him a trade of queens because I wanted to advance that pawn, and what I was looking at was that e-file. If I could bring my h-rook over to that e-file, I could get a clear path onto his king there. So I was offering him a trade to try to move my e-pawn over to the f-file, and then I could eventually move my knight, but didn't want to trade right there, so I slide over. Now I've got the queen and the bishop connected, and I got eyes on that f2 pawn. So he comes over, he puts me in a fork. with that H and D rook. But again, I got my eyes on that F file there. So go to check. We come back down, we check, we slide up to his rook, another check. So I've just got a couple pieces there while maintaining checks. So he slides over. Now I'm going to try to put some pressure on that F file if I can get his knight. I am offering him my D rook, but I think he's got bigger issues right now. He slides over to try to defend his knight, but I think he probably should have tried to defend his king and his bishop back here, because the eyes that I have on the F2 space and everything in front of his king with my two bishops is pretty deadly. So we move over for another check. He slides over to defend. I slide my bishop over, knowing that the E2 bishop is pinned, so I know he can't take me. He slides over, and I know that I can just slide over and take that bishop, and that's it. So those two bishops, coupled with my queen sitting in the center of the board, I was kind of able to ignore the threat down below in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen and kind of focus on my attack. There wasn't a whole lot of piece trades in this game, but because of the long range and the long sight of those bishops, I was able to navigate this pretty well. So I think I gained a couple ELO on that. I think I'm down slightly on the day, but overall it was a good day. Win one, lose one. Good lessons, and I like this game a little bit more because I develop more of my pieces and I focus more on trying to be balanced as opposed to getting everything clogged up like I was in the first game, and I was able to spread out a little bit more, get long sights of vision, and that's something I'm going to try to take into tomorrow. So if you made it this far, thank you once again for watching the videos. Please subscribe if you're new as we continue to grow up the channel, and thank you for checking it out. We'll be on to day 4, episode 4, and up to 1600. So thank you so much. Bye.